Today we move on to chapter 10, Transport of Substances in Plants and Animals, on page 144 and 145. What is transportation? It is the transfer of substance or movement of substance from one place to another. This process is called transportation. Here we are going to learn transporting materials or transporting substance. How does it take place in plants and animals? Organisms like human beings and flowering plants are having well organized transport system within themselves. The tissue is called vascular tissue, which is responsible for transportation in animals and plants. Human beings having well definite, well fixed, well organized circulatory system, that is heart, which pumps blood. Blood in turn carries oxygen, carbon dioxide, and enzymes, proteins, as well as nutrients. These all materials and transferred to different part of the body. That means every part of a cell in our body. In plant, these vascular tissues are called xylem and phloem. Xylem is responsible for transporting water and minerals, whereas phloem is responsible for transporting food materials, which is prepared by the plant, that is leaf of the plant. Now let's move on to the topic transport of substances in plants. Different flowering plants like herbs, shrubs, trees, they draw water from the soil. Do you know how do they get water from the soil? Roots are having small root hair like structure called root hair. What will happen outside this root hair? Water particles more in the soil, and as compared to the root hair, that means inside the root hair or inside the cell of the root, there will be less amount of water. When the water amount is less inside the root, the water gushes from outside more area. That means I told you outside soil water is present. So water gushes from out of the root to inside the root along with the minerals which are present in the soil. And this water is transported to the top portion of the plant, that means shoot of the plant, like leaves, stem, flower, everything, every part of the plant. This water is transported through the xylem tubes. You know that leaves are known as food factory of the plant. What is the reason behind this? Because leaves of the plant prepare food by the process of photosynthesis. For preparing food for the leaves require chlorophyll, sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. These materials are necessary for the process of photosynthesis to occur. For the photosynthesis process, these all materials are required for the leaves to prepare food. Thus, leaves are called food factories. We name this food as glucose. Thus, we can say that leaves of the plant prepare food called glucose or glucose food. Then this prepared complex food is converted into soluble sugar form. Then it is transported through the phloem tubes, and it is stored in different organs like seed, fruit, stem, and root. That is what we can eat: the potato root of the plant, the carrot, and stem of the plant like potato, because this stored food is because of transportation of this material by the phloem tubes. What is the food name I told you? Glucose. And it is converted into soluble sugar. This kind of sugar is stored in potato or carrot, like this edible part. So this part, edible part, we are consuming. You know, different edible seeds, edible stem, edible leaf, edible root of the plants we are eating as a vegetables. So we understand that leaves prepare glucose, and this is converted into sugar, and which is transported through the tube like structure called phloem, and it is stored in different part of the plant. Now let us learn what are called tissues. Tissues are the group of cells which group together and perform similar functions. I told you xylem and phloem. These are called tissues because xylem is a group of different kind of tissues, but they perform together one function, that is transporting water and mineral particles. Same way, phloem is another tissue because it consists of different group of atoms and which together perform a simple function, that is transporting food materials. So what is tissue? Tissues are called group of cells. Tissue is a group of cells which perform similar function or its specific function. Now let us move on to activity 1, which is to show conduction of water through xylem from roots to leaves. For this, materials required are beaker, water, rooted balsam plant and eucalyptus dye. Eucalyptus is a red color dye which is used for showing this transportation of water through the root. Now you have to uproot the medium sized balsam plant. Along with the root you have to take the balsam plant and wash the root well and put it in the water. In the water you have to add some colored red color dye using. Okay, so the solution become color, red colored substance. Now the water is red in color because of this solution, added solution using dye. The root should be completely submerged into the solution. Within few hours, after 3 or 4 hours, we can see that continuous column of red dye using from the root to leaves. In the leaves, in the mid vein and side vein, every part of the plant, we can see this continuous column of the colored dye. What does it mean? It shows that xylem is a connective network of tissue which connect root to leaves through the stem branches. In this way, it transfers water to the whole part of the plant. The forces responsible for conducting water from root to stem is absorption as well as transpiration. Such a process of conduction of water from root to stem, branches, leaves, and every part of the plant is called ascent of sap. The factors responsible for this uptaking of water from root to stem and leaves are called root pressure and transpiration pull. Now let us study these factors. Root pressure. First factor is root pressure. You know that root of the plant having hair-like structure, small hair-like structure called root hair. This root hair provide large surface area for absorption of water and mineral. The root cell contains large vacuole filled with a fluid called cell sap. What is cell sap? The root cell, I told you, that every organism is made up of cell. Root also made up of cells. This root cells contain cells which is present the root called root cell. This root cells contain large vacuoles which is filled with the cell sap. Cell sap has, that liquid has concentration of salt than the soil water. What do you understand? Inside the root, cell is present, that is called root cell. Root cell inside vacuole is present, one part of the cell. Vacuole is a part of a cell. This vacuole is filled with cell sap. Cell sap is made up of salt and water particles. But remember one thing, cell, root cell or cell sap contain large amount of salt but less amount of water. And at the same time, soil contain more amount of water than the cell sap. So what happened? We know that the temperature flow from higher temperature to lower temperature body. The same way, water flow from more concentrated water area to less concentrated water area. That means more amount of water to less amount of water. I told you cell sap has less amount of water than the soil water. So what happens? Soil water is more. So it pushes inside. This water pushed inside the cell in the process of osmosis. Now you understand clearly that water always flows from high amount of water area to less amount of water area. Inside the root there is less amount of water. Outside the root, that is in the soil, more amount of water. So water pushes inside the root in the process of osmosis. This process is called osmosis. Okay. Now because of this continuous flow of water, intake of water by the process of osmosis, which build up sufficient force to push the water upwards through the xylem vessel. This is the way water reaches to the leaves and stem and remaining part of the plant. Next important factor is transpiration pull. What is transpiration pull? The loss of water, excess water present in our body is eliminated through the urine. In the same way, plants eliminate excess amount of water through the stomata, which is present on the surface of the leaf. Okay, stomata is like a pore. Pore means hole-like structure which is present in the leaves, mainly under surface of the leaf. Through this, excess water will be eliminated. This process is called transpiration. Because of this continuous removal of water by the process of transpiration by the leaves of the plant, also the process of photosynthesis, water is used up. So this creates water column becomes greatly stretched and create a strong pull upwards. That is the reason continuous of water column does not break due to the force operating between water molecules and also between the water molecules and wall of the xylem vessels. Now you know that what causes transpiration pull of the water? It is because of the loss of water from the leaves of the plant by the process of transpiration as well as photosynthesis. Finally, we can conclude that two pressures like root pressure and transpiration pull causes water to move upwards along the xylem vessel.